There you go. There you go. It's just a few of us for now. Other people may join, but in any case, uh, there's a lot of questions to go through. Peter, you agreed to be subjected to my questioning.
And I
Um,
got you.
and we'll post the recording on YouTube, and I'll also do a write-up afterwards. So we can reply to people and their questions and generate some fruitful discussion. So I said, Peter, we're going to do a ping pong match. One to you, one to me. Maybe if you're dying to make a comment on another person's response, then we can do it as well.
Yeah,
Let me bring the questions because now I've lost my window.
yeah. If I look over there, then it's because I have the list of questions that you prepared. Uh, and like a third of them are for Inma. Hello.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
not a third, but three. So let's see if we can get through all three of them.
Okay, okay.
Everyone
Right.
else, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Okay, let's start. Let's start. Okay, first question from Inma Ortiz Montiel, design ops leader and lecturer, and mental health first aider. Love that. Love that. Okay, so Peter, if you were to start design ops from scratch in a new organization, what would you make a special emphasis on? Easy one to start with.
Uh, Start from scratch. Uh, Definitely do your listening tour well. Don't start with just listening to like designs as, you should start with this, but do a listening tour. Uh, and whenever you uh, have met with someone, ask them who else you should be talking to. Like, who should be you be talking with next? Because people may come up with surprising answers that give you a better insight in how the organization works, and how you might support that organization.
Great,
So,
great. I think, understanding the organization's culture is really, really important. Because what worked in your previous role or some of the behavior that made you successful in your previous role may not work in the same way because the culture is so different. And then a bit like you, I would say find a cultural interpreter or
mhm.
an ally, probably outside of design, that can guide you and tell you about the stories, the interesting relationships, what people value, you should go and speak to next, as you said.
Yeah,
Really, really insightful.
sort of a cultural history of the company. When I joined Miro, so I'm still wearing my Miro shirt. Um, I started learning Russian, uh, because Miro was originally a Russian company. There were still Russian cultural influences, and I tried to like study the culture, absorb the culture a little bit through learning the language, and then being able to also to catch some Russian that was still being spoken before. So yeah, that was my way of learning about culture.
Awesome. Awesome.
Next.
Next comes from Megan Redling, a senior program manager in the US, open to work, so go check her out. How do you recommend evolving a design ops function from a support role into a strategic partner, especially in companies where some teams really value design and others still see it just as a service?
Laurent, that's your question, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I forgot about this. Okay, so my approach to this would be first to build trust and deliver on, smaller initiatives because, you may have ambitions to influence uh, other parts of the organization or operate at like a different level. So for instance, actually how we are structured in design or
Mhm,
where we should be focusing our efforts. But first, you need to establish trust and build relationships. So, identify some quick wins where you can demonstrate value very quickly. Tell the organization we on the same team here. We care about the same things, and then find some opportunities to do greater work. One advice that was given to me in the past is, you know, always know where you want to get to eventually
mhm.
or the type of work that you want to do, and then be ready to seize the opportunity when it presents itself. Sometimes you want to operate in that space, but the organization is not ready to do it. Still keep that in your back pocket, have a point of view, socialize your point of view, plant the seed, and then when the time is right, that's where you like kind of like go all in and say, I can help with this, and I've already thought about this. So let me help, us, and let,
Mhm.
let me help you guide you through that process.
Yeah.
So that would be one. The other one would be to really think about what are the company priorities and the stated goals, and then aligning your work to that.
Yeah.
Um, and drive value, build relationships, and then people will trust you more and more and more and more and more. It's kind of like a
Can
vicious.
I question the question? Because the question says evolving design ops from a support role into a strategic partner. Does design ops need to be a strategic partner to other teams, or does it need to be a strategic partner to design? If,
Well, what do you think?
uh,
Yeah, I'm sure you have an
yeah,
answer to that.
yeah, like in my view, design ops is very much a supporting role. It's there to make designers and the design organization shine and give it its best spot in the organization. If design itself, and I need to make a distinction here between design and design ops. If design itself doesn't have a strategic role in the company, making design ops strategic doesn't really help. So it design needs to have the strategic partner role, and design ops can help design get there. Uh, so this is why I was questioning the thing. Like, does design ops need to be a strategic partner? Maybe to the head of design, maybe to some other ops teams. Uh, but that's about it. And for the rest, it's supporting to help design be a strategic player in the company in the product development lifecycle.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, this is so interesting, right? Because, as you said, first we need to understand what are the goals and the objectives of the design organization,
Mhm.
and what's the purpose of design in the company, and what does success look like. Then we can think about how design ops help deliver on that agenda.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Cool. Very good. Very good. Thanks for questioning the question.
yeah.
Usually, you're not really meant to answer a question with a question, but on this occasion, it's fine.
Is it?
Oh, I think so. I think so. Okay, Stephen Dale, Senior Program Manager, open to work in the US. Check him out. How have you approached defining qualitative and quantitative metrics to demonstrate the value of design ops? What was effective? What wasn't effective? Do you have any surprising or counterintuitive insights? Peter, it's your turn.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Usually when I teach people about design ops, I have a short list of design metrics, design org metrics, and some design ops metrics. And the first thing I do is spend one of my it depends that I can use per day on it depends. Uh, your design org's metrics may be different and very likely are different from that in other organizations for a good reason. And the same is true for design ops and your metrics. There are some that are likely to be smart to measure, and when it comes to design ops, um, it's about the product management triangle, like speed, time, that's the same thing. Time, quality, budget. Those are things you want to keep track of. Like how much time do we spend on design ops? What is the quality of our initiatives? How much money are we spending? Those three, right? Uh, so those three, like, and the rest often depends on. Oh, and then there's designer happiness. Designer happiness. It is your job to make as many designers walking to the door, singing a song, and leaving the door, going out the door and singing a song. Designer happiness is a metric that you should be tracking always. And yes, it is probably a survey, and we shouldn't use too many surveys, but this is a good thing to measure through a survey. As long as you do the same thing with NPS, you ask for a score, and then you ask for a reason why. Um, So those are sort of the basic staple. And then it depends. Like at Miro, one of the design ops metrics that we tracked was how soon is a new designer contributing to work. And we used a signal that said they are contributing, they're presenting their work in a sort of company-wide product review meeting. If they were doing that and we could track because they were on the agenda, we could say, now is the time that they are a fully functional designer in the company. They started 3 months ago, 3 months. Good. That's a time to first review, time to first product review was a metric that we tracked, and we didn't want it to grow. We wanted that number to, if we could bring it down, bring it down. If we can make designers more effective faster, then
Yeah.
we're saving the company money and we're worth our money.
Okay.
If they don't start failing during those meetings or something like that, then maybe we did something wrong in their preparation to become a fully functional designer.
Yeah. Cool. Cool. To add to this, I think the question behind the question suggests that having quantitative metrics helps demonstrate the value of design operation and therefore get buy-in. I think for me, a counterintuitive insight here is that sometimes it doesn't matter. The measure doesn't matter because you can have some really, really great measure and show impact. You may decide what you measure. It's maybe
Mhm.
your perspective. People may not buy into that metric, but also if you don't have any trust, it doesn't really matter anyway. So you can have really, really shiny metrics and big numbers.
Yeah.
If people don't trust you or don't like you or don't trust the validity of your number,
Mhm.
you're not going to be influential either. So I think ideally you have both. You have trust, people see and recognize the value, and then you can put a number on it. Uh,
But
Otherwise, just
watch out
don't.
for vanity metrics.
Yeah, yeah. Even if it's not a vanity metrics, but do people care about that metric?
Yeah, but if you're the only one who cares, then I think it's a vanity metric. If you say, well, I want as many design ops initiatives started as possible, and nobody's waiting for more design ops initiatives that they need to
Yeah,
listen to, get briefed on, prioritize, maybe take part in, hear about the results, and it's just busy work,
yeah.
then it's a vanity metric.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yep.
So, Catherine, let's getting into the swing of things. Catherine Innocent, research and design ops manager. How do you support existing design staff to manage the transition from design ops themselves in between their own jobs to having ops managing it for them? Okay, so essentially, a team of designers was doing part of an ops role. Ops person is coming in, and how do you manage the transition from, okay, I understand you were doing this, but it's my role now. Okay.
Mhm.
Uh, how do you start? Well, I don't know. So start building relationships, understand any ops kind of like activities that the team is doing, identify where taking that away from them may help them. I think there's an element around um, helping people understand their roles and responsibilities, outlining
Mhm.
expectations of each other and how we're going to work, and kind of framing it in a more collaborative way as opposed to this is my role and this is your role. First, kind of like surface the needs of the organization, who's doing what today. Hey, if we shifted these things from here to there, what would that enable for you? What would that enable you to do better, faster, differently? Okay, now let's figure out how we're going to work together. And, you know, after this conversation, I'm going to write down a outline of who does what,
Mhm.
and let's take it from there. Um, that usually works. Then you probably need to formalize it at some point, and um, I guess you can always sense check that with your lead or a peer or your manager. How about you, Peter?
I would say that the coordination of design ops initiatives lies with design ops and some of the execution. But for many, you still need others to contribute. And I think this is implied in one of Emma's questions. You need people to continue working on the teams for design ops initiatives. So don't promise that you'll take too much away. You'll take the coordination worry away. You'll help with prioritizing them. You'll help with writing briefings, and maybe the requests for contributions become slightly more formal instead of everything being sort of distributed in an informal way.
Yeah.
So I think it's mostly about adding structure, uh, and you already mentioned formalizing things a little bit, formalizing things uh, to a degree. But please encourage them to continue contributing to design ops initiatives, because we need everyone to take their part in it. If you need if you want to improve the process, and there's like three process freaks that have been doing it until now, let them continue and add some structure to that work. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Wang, design ops leader in Canada. Check her out on LinkedIn. How do you get buy-in and influence stakeholders across different functions and levels? Any specific tactics that have worked well for you?
Uh, that's so tricky. Uh, Getting buy-in is sort of what you just answered. Like, make it clear what the benefits are of a structured and continuous improvement program. Um, Influencing stakeholders is, yeah, that's people stuff. Uh, I used to say soft skills, but it's like al dente skills. It's not really hard skills and not really soft skills. It's required for the job, so it sort of becomes a hard skill. Um, uh, and I think the question also asked like at different levels. Like for an individual contributor, uh, it's mostly the promise that you make things better for them, and that if you're open for it, that you have a couch for them to go come and cry on, or complain about their bosses on. Um, I've been like the counselor or coach or whatever for teams where they could come to me and complain about their bosses, complain about how priorities were shifted and everything. So I could get a sense of what was necessary, what was currently wrong,
Mm.
and what needed to improve. So for individual contributors, it's mostly being an open, having an open door and promising that over time things will improve. For design leaders, uh, it's mostly things about efficiency, insights that we can probably deliver, like tracking things and serving it back to them, tracking things from throughout the organization and serving it back to them, so they can also compare themselves with amongst
Yeah.
themselves. Like, what kind of problems are you solving in your pillar? I've got similar problems. Shall we talk about them? They only know about those, well, unless they're well organized and they're already talking to each other, but often they're not enough talking to each other enough, and we can help them, give them insights, dashboards, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool, cool. So Johnny in the chat says define clear problem that you're solving and how it adds value to them. Totally. I mean, my approach to stakeholder influence and engagement is have a one-on-one meeting and ask people about what they care about and their priorities and the challenges. And I may have something that I want them to get to buy into, but I spend 95% of the meeting talking about them and
Mm.
then trying to find the opportunity for like alignment with what I'm trying to do. Oh, that's really interesting. You have this problem. Well, I've been thinking about this from this perspective. There could be a really good opportunity there. And then I go away and I don't know, craft together like a proposal. I think about it. I get back to them and I say like, here's something that we could do. Let's talk about it some more. Let's take some questions from the chat here. Okay, so Veronica, you talked about design happiness earlier. What are the practices to measure and check the level of design culture and designer attitudes toward the work and the company? How often do you check this?
Yeah, I would say a quarterly survey is fine in most cases. One thing I would not forget is to also ask the people that designers are working with. So if you have product owners or product managers, ask them as well. If you have developers that designers work with, ask them as well. If there's domain experts, same thing. Uh,
Yeah.
Ask the people around designers how happy they are with designers, because part of your job is to make those others work well with designers as well.
Yeah. Cool. For us, we had a weekly ritual. We got the design team together. We had a mood check at the beginning of the meeting on the Miro board, and then we also had yeah, an engagement survey every 6 months. I think what's interesting about the engagement surveys is you have to define what you care about in your culture. Is it growth? Is it engagement? Is it user centricity? Whatever it is that's forms part of the culture, and then find a way of measuring that.
Yeah.
Uh, what's interesting, quick thing about it, what's interesting is that, it takes 6 months to get the result of the survey. And this survey can be heavily influenced by what happens in weeks and days before the survey
Yeah, yeah.
is taken. And so you need to find a way, some other indicators to think about the health and the well-being of your design team in the meantime. On the same note, let's continue. Let's explore this a little bit more. Have you ever used data and information from exit interviews to improve and retain designers? Could you partner with HR to be a part of this as design ops?
Mm.
Inma, you have an answer to this. You answer.
No, I just wanted to say that in our case, HR was not doing exit interviews per se. So it was something that we voluntarily wanted to do. And it was like a shared responsibility between operations and design management. Thinking about how to do this in an organization where HR is responsible for this, I think the tricky thing would be to get HR to share this information with you, because why would they? I think probably there's a lot of confidential stuff that the people that are leaving share. So yeah, maybe it can be somehow anonymized, but also how many people live in a month. You obviously gonna know who said what. So yeah, I was just thinking out loud how
Yeah,
to do this.
cool. Cool. Let's take another one. Let's take one. Okay. Lydia O. Young, UX designer with a passion for ops at SD Engineering in Singapore. How would you leverage design ops to empower a disengaged or disengaged employees in the work?
That's the step before exit interviews. Like I said, I always pretend to have like a psychologist couch in my office or virtual Zoom. I want people to be able to complain to me, and knowing that it stays within those walls and gets anonymized uh, and used in prioritizing design ops initiatives, and maybe talking to design management in general, but not specifically about individuals to their managers. So uh, this is how I operate design ops, by having this open door and a couch to allow others to air their frustrations, air their disengagement, and turn it around into something hopefully positive. It might be very indirect. It might need to be like compiled with the signals I get from others, then prioritize. So it might be too late for them, but at least I try to turn it into something positive.
Yeah. My take on this is, in some ways, this is a leadership challenge and a leadership skill. Whenever there are unhappiness or people being disengaged, there's some turbulence in the organization. So we need to, as Peter said, like understand what's happening and be tell it how it is, right? Yes, the reality is difficult. Yes, we have this challenge. Don't shy away from the problems. You know, make as a leader, make your values clear. Tell the team what you care about and what you're doing and what is important to you. And then the other thing is there's a lot of things in the organization that you cannot control or influence, right? I tried in the past to do, have like lots of like different activities to try and really boost engagement. In the end, what was the most effective thing? Multiply the positive moments. Create positive moments in the organization, bringing the teams together, find ways of having a good time and bringing some positivity. It's
Mhm.
often a welcome break from, the pressure of having to deliver, and it's worth focusing on because that's what you can control. Okay,
Perfect.
Craig, good old Craig AI, Craig Perlmutter, Principal Design Program Manager at Personio. What jobs do you think have become design ops responsibilities, but they're really for the design leadership team to do. Are the
Mhm.
jobs design ops are typically doing when they should be focusing on more impactful work? This one's for you, I said. This one's for you, man.
Yeah. Well, so direct answer, uh, design strategy, product strategy are things that should lie with design leadership. Uh, the design ops managers should, unless they are like a chief of staff as well, if unless they're chief of staff, they should not be asked to put together a strategy deck or something. Uh, so that's something that design leadership, in my view, would do. On the other end of the spectrum, um, moving meetings around, like, oh, we have a conflict here. Peter, can you please move this meeting? Uh, no, you can move your meeting yourself. Like, no, thank you. And yes, there may be conflicts, and you can solve those conflicts. I, I'm not the personal assistant of the head of design. You can do that. You can do that yourself. So those are the two things, like on very ends of the spectrum, like moving meetings to building strategy decks, that I think design leadership can do by themselves and should be doing things.
Yeah.
Um, Interpreting signals from the company that design ops is collecting is somewhere on the border. Design ops is the first person to collect the signals, like projects are late, people are unhappy, quality goes down. Uh, Quality goes down should be seen by design leadership as well, but quality goes down overall, or quality goes down across silos on these aspects. Uh, those are things that design ops may see sooner, may interpret, may use to prioritize or propose proposals to fix things. But design leadership has a role there as well in interpreting these signals. Like, yes, this is because we're rushing to copy our competitor, and we're not doing anything interesting new. That's typically us. That may be a reason why either people are unhappy or quality is low because it's a copy of the competitor and the competitor sucks, their design sucks, or something like that. Those may be reasons why those signals need to be interpreted as something different than bad.
Mm.
So that's,
What do you, what do you,
I'll stop there.
where do you stand on, because, some of my thinking in the past has been that, okay, let's say I'm joining a team, there's a VP of design, there's three design heads, I'm coming in to help them. In some ways, design ops help to, make the design function healthy and well functioning. But then at the same time, it shouldn't be just on the design ops leader to own everything. And the heads of design also need to play their part in building the design organization and the way it operates. So, do you have
But
any additional
let's
thoughts on this?
Yeah, let's say if design leadership feels, hey, we should be building out the creative technology role or something. We don't have one yet. Design ops, can you help us create a job description for that by doing some research, combining best practices, combining it with job descriptions from our department anyway? Then that makes sense. It's and but like publishing the next junior product designer job description on LinkedIn, they can do that themselves. Sort of. That's where I stand on this. Uh,
Cool. Cool. Next one from Saurabh Diani, design program manager, open to work in India. Check him out. What's the best part of design ops that you like? And do you see design ops evolving in small scale organizations as well?
that's one's for you.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. I thought I'm doing an interview, Peter.
You can ask me anything, but I will give some questions to you.
Anything about design ops or anything else? What's the best part of design ops that you like? What's the best part? I like bringing people together and getting clarity on what we're there to do, and then turning that into an action plan. I like, yeah, I like taking the chaos, ordering it, and bring some clarity. and inspiring team to do amazing work and for them to understand where we're heading as a design organization. Therefore, what are the things that we need to change? Therefore, this is what we're doing. Therefore, it may feel a bit uncomfortable, but the benefits are worth it. So the storytelling aspect of it that follows the process of figuring out vision, strategy, objective, tactics, all that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
and getting the team energized is one of the things I love the most about working in design ops. How about
And
you?
is that different in larger organizations than versus smaller?
Not really, not in my experience.
Mm.
Not in my experience. You know, I've seen a lot of the time that people don't really talk to each other. They don't really talk to each other, or it, there's often a need for someone to bring people together, whether it's on a project or in a department or in a subgroup somewhere. But a lot of people may say they have these challenges and this and that, but at some point someone needs to step up and try and bring people together and make some progress. So connectors, as Inma says. Um, I
Do
think
you feel
it's a really
design
good
ops,
thing.
sorry, do you feel design ops needs to be a very visible player in this? Uh, like standing next to the head of design when things are, the new initiatives are being announced? Or is it okay if design ops is more in the background, like the connector and glue stuff?
I
Glue is
think
not very visible.
it depends. You have to think about the ego of your design leader sometimes
Mm,
and not taking over. At the same time, you have to do the most of your strengths. If your strengths are not being in the limelight and, you know, getting stuff done, the invisible work that actually makes stuff happen in the background, do that.
mm,
Um, if you also have some strength in terms of bringing energy and, storytelling and helping, even like your leads or your VP to craft a really compelling story, do that.
yeah,
But always know your place. Always know your place in the hierarchy, right? You
yeah,
can't your job is also to make your design leader look good and deliver on their objectives.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that's something to consider as well.
Okay. There are some more questions in the chat. I see one about salaries. I know if you've ever dealt with, like as an ops person, dealt with changing salaries, standardizing salaries, trying to fight for higher salaries, making it clear that salaries are the reason why people are leaving, stuff like that. I know I haven't really. I've fought for like raising bands of salaries for designers, but that was more in a design leadership role and not necessarily in an ops role. Have you?
I've, there's some, I've worked a little bit in this, not too much. Often it is very, salary, first of all, is a confidential information between the employee and the organization.
Mhm.
So,
Okay, but salary
that's one.
bands.
The other thing, like salary bands, what you often see or sometimes see, there's like disparity between what we pay product design versus content design versus operations because they are in different bands. And the reality is that it may not feel right from a principal perspective, but the other reality is that you have to be competitive, like relatively competitive in the market,
Mhm.
and it's driven by external factors more than internal factors.
Yeah.
So it can be quite fiery to have discussion about salary.
Okay, then instead of salary, as design ops, I've been involved in performance reviews, which is usually between like leadership about individual designers. And design ops is there to either manage the process, to the track, stuff like that. So we're involved and we're hearing the salaries, and we can contribute to these discussions, and we may even know about flight risks because they've been on our couch.
Yeah.
So in a sense, we may be in a position where we can influence people's salaries indirectly by contributing to the performance review conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I just want to pick up on a point that Inma made in the chat when we were talking about, visibility and stuff. And she says that the problem with operating in the background is that when there are cuts or the organization is downsizing, your role may be at more jeopardy than others because you're not
You're not
visible.
visible.
I think there's different like levels of visibility. You don't have to be on stage at the company meeting working up the mic. Visibility is how you share the value of your work, how you communicate with your stakeholders, if you have built a good reputation in the organization and built deep relationship with your cross-functional stakeholders, because they're the one who are going to be advocating for you and your role and the value of your role. So you can operate in the background and still do all of that. That still contribute to visibility. I think it's not a welcome to the stage. You don't have pressure to like have to speak publicly all the time. At the same time, at some point, if you are moving into leadership roles, you are expected to represent the team and talk about the work publicly, well, in the organization. So, uh, yeah, the work doesn't always speak for itself. You need to talk about it. Okay, let's move on. Let's get a question from. Let's get a question from Ya Wang. What are the similarities and differences you've seen when driving design ops initiatives in enterprises versus smaller companies? Your turn.
Uh, so in enterprises, there's a chance for design ops to specialize. And that means that someone can be the tool person, someone can be can be the procurement person, someone can be the licenses person, someone can be the culture person, someone can be the process freak, a designer, a specialist, etc. So if you're in an enterprise, design ops initiatives can be run by specialist design ops operators, which means which also means they may need to work together in different constellations to complete an initiative. And of course, they may be they need to look for for their counterparts in the design organization itself or in IT or HR or other stakeholders to work together with. And then they need to realize that they may be a specialist, but the people that they're working with are not specialists in in that particular field. So they need to just do some explaining or evangelization or stuff like that, which is true for design ops in general. But if you're in enterprise spaces and there's larger teams for design ops, then they can become specialists. Or everyone says a generalist. And let's see, I think Craig, whose question we discussed earlier at Personio, every design ops person is like a DPM supporting a team. So they become specialists in the team's knowledge and the team application area, but need to do all of the work. They need to be culture person, process tracker, whatever, tool maker for that team. So depending on, and even that is a larger organization with sort of specialist roles in design ops, but they're specialized in a different way. They're sort of specialized in a vertical way instead of specialized on chunks of the horizontal set of responsibilities. Uh, that's possible in enterprise situation. If you're in a smaller company, then every design ops person needs to be a generalist, and you need to be willing to learn, be willing to find partners to compensate their weaknesses, and maybe fight for temporary outside help. if you're not a research ops specialist, but more a design ops specialist, you may want to have like a research ops consultant to help you temporarily so that you can support your researchers better. That may be necessary in a smaller company.
I
Those
think
are,
it's,
yeah,
yes,
my quick answer.
yes, it's good, it's good, it's good. I think, in large enterprises, um, there's often more risk aversion. What does that mean? It means that there are different types of processes, governance, the way decisions are made typically take longer
Mhm.
and needs like more thorough analysis. Therefore, may need to do a lot more investigation. You need to come and present a written document in a forum and get the say so, da 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 da.
Yeah,
The
true.
other aspect of that is that it could be that you're further away from the delivery of value because you're working on parts of the design organization like um, research operation or governance and risk management
Mm.
or the design function specifically or whatever the case may be. But you're not, if you're in the central function, you're not necessarily like in the work. Um,
I
that,
so
that,
yeah,
so that
no, go ahead. Finish.
sorry, that has some challenges because you're trying to impact the delivery team that are over here from the outside in with your own agenda and they have their own agenda. So there's some conflicts and you need to find a way of navigating that. In smaller organization, especially startup and scale-ups, it's all about speed and value. And so there, it's less about being like 100% accurate, but being like really, really fast, unblocking the flow of work, and helping the teams deliver value as quickly as possible. Um, yeah,
What I was going to say is the in enterprise environments where you say you may be further away from the work, the chances that the enterprise organization has a set of OKRs or KPIs or metrics or a system for metrics that allow you to link your work to metrics and therefore show the value and show the value are the chances are bigger. In a small organization where it's like fail fast, fail early, blah blah blah. Those metrics may be not in place, so proving your contributions may be harder.
okay, cool. Let's take a question from Kashiraja here. UX maturity, given that critiques, weekly syncs with product help a little to improve, in your experience, what other programs can help increase UX maturity? This is for you, Peter.
Do you have an answer? Was this in the chat? Sorry, because
It's in the chat. It's in the
yeah,
chat.
you're here. Scroll. So beyond check-ins, what else would work for?
Increasing UX maturity, building
Uh,
crits and weekly
yeah.
sync.
Well, uh, like you can have outside presenters come in and teach everyone the same thing in the same terminology so that the team can build up its own jargon of learned knowledge and use that to become fast, to become effective and operate as one. Um, you can standardize your ways of working and raise the lower quality bar by building templates, repeatable checkpoints, have and also um, manage the expectations that others have of designers by making it a repeatable thing so people recognize and can predict when designers will be doing what. And therefore making it easier for a designer to contribute to project work. Those are some examples that quickly come to mind. Um, like measuring in general and showing, so measuring to then be able to serve it back to people, either individual designers or teams of designers are working together in a pillar and or their whole product teams to see that design is not the bottleneck and research is not the bottleneck, but actually PM's business case modeling is the bottleneck, or QA when reviewing delivered code or delivered designs is the bottleneck. so collecting data about work that's being executed, including that by designers, and then being able to serve it back in a amalgamated way. Is it one of the powers that DesignOps has?
Some of the things we did in the past, we scaled like a design thinking program in the enterprise so people could experience what it's like to work in a design-led way. This is on the premise that if you want to change culture, there's a say which is people act their ways into new beliefs. So
Mm,
it means that people will first have to take some sort of action, and then they will believe in the value or the promise, right? So preaching about design uh, isn't always, it can be like really counterproductive. Um, it's different from, storytelling the value of the work and stuff, but preaching, it's it's can be kryptonite in the in the organization. Some of the other things we've done, I think a lot of it is in the work. So I remember in one of our value stream at Lloyd, someone wanted for design to contribute to the product roadmap. But at the time, they had no credentials. So what I had to do is do the work and step by step, slowly build their influence in that value stream. And it took 3 years for product design and engineering to then be like really fully aligned and equal partner in defining the product roadmap and doing it in the design-led way. This was in enterprise, right? So within that, then you can have different tactics like bringing your stakeholders to user interviews or ethnographic trips, running workshop, whatever the case may be, right? But uh, doing the design work, leading the design work of the cross-functional team, and demonstrating that in the work as opposed to like talk about it. Right?
mm,
I'm not gonna tell you why this is so important, but like, hey, we have this problem. Here's an idea. Let's try and do it this way, see if it works. Hey, cool. Let's do more of it.
yeah,
And now we can slowly increase the maturity of the team bit by bit. Um, so it's a combination of, inside the team and then outside support, trying to tackle like, different angles so that there's things that work together.
no.
Okay. Ooh,
Laurent, I think we promised the
yeah,
people that the session would end a couple of minutes ago.
yeah,
I'm happy to go on,
I'm
but
happy to go on. Let's cover the question we haven't covered. And if people can want to go on, they can stay. We're not holding you hostage here. Okay, quick one. This is a long one from Inma. This is a long one. I will cut it short. But basically, you know, doing your work as design ops, it you need to involve the designers, right? And the pushback from them is, oh, another meeting with design ops, or oh, I don't have time for this, or so how do you try and nudge them or reward them or convince them that to carve out a bit of time to help you help them?
well, I I think I've been evangelizing uh, making design ops contribution to design ops like a skill that people can develop and that is being evaluated in their performance reviews. So making it a good thing that people contribute to design ops, so that not just you ask them to contribute to it, not just their manager asks them to contribute it, but they need to want it themselves. Because it helps them to develop that skill and makes them be eligible for like a promotion. Um, so that's what I've been evangelizing, and you basically get free volunteers that way. Uh,
Yeah,
People are inherently motivated to contribute to design ops initiatives because it's good for their career in the company.
yeah.
That's one tactic, and the other one is I don't know, remind them
Buy
to
them,
not
buy
be an
them a
asshole.
coffee. Buy them a
What?
coffee. Buy them a coffee.
No, yeah, remind them to not be an asshole. Uh, if they don't contribute, if they don't want to share the knowledge that they apparently have, because otherwise you wouldn't be asking them, then they're being egotistical assholes instead of helping others get better as a collective.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, have you spoken to designers? They love to tell you about all the problems, right? So so
But
uh
they also come with ideas, like reward them for that as well. You may not be able to start it right away, but if they come with an idea, say, "Hey, why don't we, I don't know, invite this guy to do a talk or this woman to help us raise our design system quality in the next month." Um, Thank them, reward them, show it that it's on the backlog maybe, but and see if you can get others to rally behind that idea. Because if one
mm,
person has that idea, there may be others to have that idea as well. Sorry, I'm
yeah.
beginning to shout.
No, I think you're like plugging in your design ops roadmap. You're like, just put it on the backlog. Um Um, I really like, yeah, your perspective. Use designer's perspective and scale your work for the broader team's benefits in performance review. Yeah, I like to talk about it as contributing back to the design function, playing your part in the health and the performance of the design organization. Okay, question from Lydia. How could we achieve buy-in with quick and high impact initiatives amongst the team?
Can I quickly add a perspective into that question? Like, how do you achieve that without authority? Like, how do you rally the team while you're doing that?
Okay, I'll tell you my experience. For me, uh, what I did is when I started at Clisco, I worked with the VP of design and some of the other leads, and we actually had to define the strategy for the design organization. Okay, so and then we had to communicate this to designers, and what that strategy needs to be very clear in terms of like how it creates value for the organization and how it also supports the growth of designers. So you set the vision for what you want to achieve, and the strategy helps you get there, and then you can use that to inspire the team and really get them to have a sense of together we are elevating the work of design and designing the organization, and that is incredibly motivating for designers. Then what I did a bit like what Peter said is, I had like a backlog of stuff. Peter talked about his design ops roadmap and all the different things we could do, and you can't do it on your own. So then you need to find a way of uh, sharing some of the work out. So I created something called like the design function initiatives. Okay, this is something where people can contribute to specific initiatives that have earmarked, could be done, and anyone can volunteer to spend 2, 3 hours a week to contribute to these initiatives. We're going to work in a sprint of 6 weeks because it's manageable, because you also have your day-to-day work to do. And this is important because A, B, C, and D. And the benefits to you are that one, you're meeting people that or working with people across the design organization that you don't always collaborate with. So you're expanding your network. There's a way for you to develop some of the skills that you want to grow in a safe environment. For some people, I may ask you to lead a small group of people so you can grow your leadership skills in there. And then all of that is for the benefit of the design function. And I'm going to give you some autonomy, but also keep you accountable, every week reporting on progress and see if we're like moving in the right direction. And that worked really, really well. In my experience, not everything worked. Some initiatives were really, really successful. We relaunched design crates. We redefined our design principles. Others were too tricky, or people had capacity challenges. We wanted to like reboot, accessibility or like go like further into accessibility. The time wasn't quite right, but nonetheless, it generated momentum and excitement in the design organization. and it was very visible with with the design like leadership team as well. So the visibility and the recognition that you get for that too is very motivating.
Did you run into situations where there's someone who just doesn't want to participate in this at all?
Yeah, totally. That's what I made it optional, not mandatory. I'm not forcing anyone to participate, but as Peter said, at some point, you want people in the team who are there to contribute to the success of the design team and the culture. And they may not want to contribute for a number of reasons. It could be that actually their part of the business is really underperforming and it's just not the right time. And they need to be like 100% in the work. It could be that the initiative that you earmarked are not their forte. It could be that they're going through something difficult in their personal life, which means that they need to focus on doing the mentoring part of the role and having some time to deal with that. So there would be some outliers that may not want to contribute anything. The root cause of that is probably because they are dissatisfied in some way or another, or the environment that the team is working on is just not for them, it's not the right fit. And you have to address that in different ways. But for the most part, people want to feel part of something that's greater than themselves and be part of a group that share similar values and similar beliefs and do some work together.
And again, asking them what kind of initiatives they would be willing to work on, and say, well, maybe we can swap two initiatives around and make this a higher priority and do this first, so you can also feel like you're part of the team. Maybe a solution there. The prioritization of initiatives is hardly ever like super strict. So and you need to account for the fact that some people become unavailable because they're going on holiday, or they break a leg, or they're asked to do some extra work on a project, and therefore are not available, and therefore your initiative is dead in the water. So you start another one, start the next one on the list, start working on that one. There may be many reasons to swap the priority of and the order in which you execute your design initiatives.
Right. So let me see if there's anything else in the chat. There was one more question from Inma, but I think we covered it around, resistance from designers when we try to change ways of working. Unless you want to add anything to that, Peter? Last question in the document.
Well, it's sometimes it's not the individual designers that resist it, but the managers who feel that you're taking away some of the responsibility. And this could be around the way processes are run. If you develop a standardized design process, and it's never 100%, they feel that their team should work differently, or should have the option to work in a different way, then you might find resistance in the leadership instead of individual designers. When I was at Miro, I worked on standardizing the design process with checkpoints and everything. And then we had a growth team that did things differently. They were heavily data oriented, so data and analytics oriented. They were always running experiments. Their projects lasted sometimes 3 hours, and otherwise 3 days or 3 weeks maximum. Whereas some other teams had 18-month projects. So the growth team worked differently. So their process needed to be different. So they resisted against the standard design process. But then I turned it around and said, okay, let's make a variant of the design process, keep all the things that we want to keep, and make it fit for you in the ways that it needs to be different for you. So that's how I went around that resistance. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Right. Any more on the call? Cool. Awesome. This was fun. This was fun, Peter.
I liked it too.
I'm so glad that I asked you and you were available, because I couldn't imagine like having to answer all of these questions by myself. Can you imagine?
You'd be ping-ponging against the wall.
Yes, so
having
Laurent, yes,
you ping
Laurent,
pong with
yes.
me.
That'd be nuts. That'd be nuts.
I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, we should do it again sometime.
I'm up for it. Sure.
Awesome. Right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank
Speak
you for
soon. Bye-bye.
asking for your questions. Bye bye.